How about now? Are we getting any input, any sound at all now? Okay, there we go. There it is. Okay. Yep, there it is. Okay, welcome, guys. Listen, as I like to say, it wouldn't be an Adam Steele stream after a 3-year hiatus if there wasn't technical difficulties with almost every stream that I've started in the last 2 weeks or so here. We're ironing it out here. It's a one-man show, one-man production through my MacBook Pro. So bear with me, okay? We're learning together as we go. So as I was saying for the first minute that I was muted, the Mike McCarthy news, it's been about 24, 48 hours since I've had time to digest the fact that he is now the Pittsburgh Steelers head coach. And there are constant news reports about who he is interested in, the direction the Steelers are looking to go in, whether it's with their OC, their DC. They just confirmed that they are going to bring in Adam Henry as their wide receivers coach. We will go over what he is, what his resume is, what he's done in the past. They just recently have confirmed, not confirmed, but the report is that Patrick Graham is going to be the Steelers defensive coordinator. And then offensive coordinator, there is a name stirring about, not confirmed yet, but it probably, I will say, matters less who the OC is because Mike McCarthy is going to call the plays for better or worse on offense. That is kind of the whole reason the Steelers were excited about him and brought him in was because he's an offensive-minded coach. So he will be calling the plays, but certainly there will still be jobs for the offensive coordinator to do, whether that's scouting the this week's opponent on defense, creating matchups and opportunities or weaknesses, doing more scouting probably than day-to-day play calling. So the OC still will be important and will certainly drive the direction the Steelers take on offense. But there is just so much, guys, that I want to get into here today. So first things first, what did I tell y'all would happen? And I'm not doing a victory lap. I hate when people do victory laps, but we all were on this stream a few days ago when we found out that Mike McCarthy was most likely going to be the head coach for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and we were talking about how we didn't want another Disney movie. And so just stay with me. Let's stay focused. I am not here to say that it is going to be a disaster or anything, but it is so funny how predictable it is as a Steelers fan at this point that they are leaning into the whole fact that Mike McCarthy was a Steelers guy. He grew up a Steelers fan from Greenfield, I guess, a neighborhood in Pittsburgh, bleeds black and gold. You just pull this image up here. You got all the guys, the usual suspects. You got Ryan Shazier. You got Joey Porter Jr., you got Omar Khan, you got Mel Blount, you got Mike McCarthy himself, you got Art Rooney standing next to him looking a little bit tired. Alex Highsmith is there. Joey Porter is there as well. You got the usual suspects, right? So certainly not a bad thing. I think there's a lot of buy-in across the Steelers organization. But I do find it interesting just how much they have leaned into the whole he's a Pittsburgh guy. That's why we hired him. He bleeds black and gold. It's a good story, absolutely. But certainly they are doing kind of exactly what we expected them to do. So I do have a couple videos that I just want to play here. And let me turn up my audio and make sure you guys can hear the desktop when I start playing it. Okay.
This city, this franchise, this fan base means the world to me because Pittsburgh's my world, and it's just awesome to be back here.
I don't think you guys are hearing it based on what I'm getting. Give me 1 second.
This city, this franchise, this fan base means the world to me. Because Pittsburgh's my world.
There it is.
And it's just awesome to be. This city,
Like I
this
said, guys,
franchise,
we're learning.
this
We're
fan
back
base,
in the mix of things. We're learning.
means the world to me. Because Pittsburgh's my world. And
So we'll play it from the start here.
this city, this franchise, this fan base means the world to me. Because Pittsburgh's my world. And it's just awesome to be back here.
I love it. I do love it. I'm not going to lie. Like, it absolutely gets me fired up and going a little bit, but it also, are we at a point right now where this is what we want to hear? I don't know. You know, I'm still mulling it over. I'm still not sure that I care that much about the beautiful story of how this city means so much to him. Like, it's a great story and it's awesome, but it's also like, I don't think personally that's what we're that concerned about as a fan base. It leaves me feeling like, yes, I understand why the Steelers went and hired a guy like Mike McCarthy. And his resume is his resume. You can't take that away from him. But are we sure that we're not just doing this because he's a Pittsburgh guy and the story sounds great? I just don't know. You know, like, I think David says it just gives me Kenny Pickett vibes. The owner cares more about storylines than building a contender. And that's a fair, I think we're on the same page in that sense. Like, we got burnt by Kenny Pickett, and we've gotten burnt over the last 10 years by Mike Tomlin bringing in guys and supporting guys and holding on to guys because they're Pittsburgh guys and they care about the team and they care about the franchise. And it's like, but do we need that right now? You know, like, you look at the Patriots, right? Like, the Patriots are back in the Super Bowl. Let me pull this up. Patriots. Let's see. What has been the Patriots' experience, right, for the last, I don't know, since they got rid of Tom Brady, really, right? So let's say Patriots record after Tom Brady and to today. Okay, so 2020, they had Cam Newton, which I totally forgot about. Went 7-9. 2021, they had Mac Jones, went 10-7. Then they had Mac Jones and Bailey Zappi, went 8-9. Then they bottomed out in 2023 and went 4-13. And then they got Drake May in the draft, and they're back in the Super Bowl. And it's like the Patriots went through it all. They bottomed out in a sense, and they're back in the Super Bowl already. And it's like, I feel like the Steelers have been hanging on to these narratives, these stories of feel-good moments and a coach that cares more about the players than anything else. And it's led to, and I know saying mediocrity when you're going 10-7 and at least making the playoffs a lot of the time sounds entitled, but I think you guys understand what I mean when I say that. Like, we all have seen what it has turned into and resulted into, and it's now at a point where we're hiring Mike McCarthy, fine, good resume, and we're now entertaining bringing back bringing back a guy like Aaron Rodgers. And we're excited about a guy like Will Howard, who has not taken a single preseason snap at all. I just ask you to ponder that. And while you ponder that, I do want to throw out the fact that the rest of the head coaches around the AFC North are actually not very they're not very impressive. So despite the fact that we had all this excitement about getting rid of and starting fresh, getting rid of Tomlin, by getting rid of, I mean he stepped down, starting fresh, having an opportunity, the rest of the AFC North has been kind of disappointing as well. Like if you're a Bengals fan, I know that like the disappointment from the Bengals has really just been around, Joe Burrow can never stay healthy. Like I think a lot of people around the league think Zach Taylor is probably a pretty good head coach. But you look at the Ravens, who got rid of Harbaugh. We still have no idea how that's going to turn out, right? You ask a Steelers fan or you ask a general fan, like, what do you think of John Harbaugh? And I don't think most people would say he's like a bad coach, but they got rid of him, and now they have Jesse Minter. The Browns, they always find a way to suck. They always find a way to make the worst decision ever. Like they just hired Todd Monken, the castaway from the Ravens, the coach that nobody else wanted. And who knows, maybe he'll be really good for a Shadur Sanders and the Browns will look great, but I highly doubt it. Like there's a reason no one else was even talking about him as a head coaching candidate. And then you have Mike McCarthy. And if you pull this list up and you look at these four coaches right now, you tell me. I mean, it's not McCarthy's maybe the best, if not the top two. And you're taking a leap there because maybe Minter is amazing and really good, but he's battling number one or number two for a Zach Taylor or a Jesse Minter. It's like, credit where credit is due. Amongst the AFC North, he's probably debatably the top coach before even leading the Pittsburgh Steelers. If we're going off a resume, of course. It's a big leap to make to go off a resume, but I'm just saying, you look at the list, it's not the worst thing in the world. Another thing that I want to talk about, though, is the way he hyped up Will Howard. So if you watched my stream from, I think it was yesterday. Yeah, it was Tuesday press conference. I didn't want to talk a lot. I didn't want to talk over the big announcement and the Steelers and, the excitement of a new head coach, but I had a lot of thoughts. And one of the things that stuck out to me, and I just wrote it down as a note to go and talk about later, was McCarthy hyping up Will Howard. So let me pull this clip up. And let me make sure my audio is still good when I go to share it. I really need a production assistant here. I mean, if anyone knows anyone good, let me know. Short clip, 20 seconds, but let's just
I'm really excited about Will Howard. I think he's someone that I thought he really came on there at Ohio State. I'm anxious to work with him. So, I mean, it'd be great to have Aaron back. But Will and Mason, I'm really excited to get started with those guys.
And people have made comments and they said, like, and it's valid, you're not going to be the new head coach and crap on any of your quarterbacks. You're not going to come in and be like, you're not going to come in and be like, yeah, Will Howard kind of stinks, or Mason Rudolph, not the guy. And you're not going to be like, the starting quarterback from this past season, we don't want him back, right? So there's absolutely this level of being politically correct, or just being, oh, what's the word? There's a word for it. I don't know. You guys get what I'm saying, though. It's like you're not going to come in and just start crapping on the current quarterbacks and be like, yeah, we're not interested in them, or I don't think they can be a starting quarterback in the NFL. But it does give me hesitancy to see him be like, yes, I'm excited about Will Howard, the guy that has not taken a snap at all in the NFL, not even in the preseason. And also, I don't have the clip here, but he did talk about Mike McCarthy in the press conference about the fact that the league offensively has shifted into an era where mobility and that's me projecting, athleticism is extremely important. And to then follow that up, and I said this on the stream reacting to the press conference, but to then follow that up and say, but I'm really excited about a guy like Will Howard, and Mason Rudolph can do X, Y, and Z, and Aaron Rodgers I want back. It's like you're listing off guys that are not known, and certainly not now in their careers, like when we're talking about Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph ever, but even Will Howard, like he's not, yeah, he has rushing highlights at Kansas State, and you can be like, yeah, he is athletic, but like just watch the film, right? It's like he's not a young Lamar Jackson athletically. He's not a Josh Allen athletically. He's not a Patrick Mahomes when he was coming into the league athletically. Like the guys that ran the league when they were young and emerging, he certainly is not that athletically. Like I'm sure he can run fine in a straight line. We've seen, if you go and watch the tape, it's like, okay, he can move, he can run some RPOs and maybe hold on to the football, and I don't know, QB options, right? But he's certainly not this guy that you put on the tape and you're like, whoa, this guy can move, he can make guys miss, he's a threat in the open field. Like he simply, in my mind, doesn't have that skill set. So to hear him talk about Will Howard and being excited about it was a little bit odd, considering the prior statement right before saying that. And same with Aaron Rodgers and Mason Rudolph, that, oh yeah, this is a league where quarterbacks have to be able to move and rush and be a threat in the run game, and then also in the same vein be excited about what we have currently. So I thought that was interesting. It could be diplomatic of him. That was the word I was looking for earlier. Could be just diplomatic of him, being like, I'm not going to come in and crap on my current quarterbacks, and I'm just excited to be here. It could just be being a good head coach and hyping up his current roster. So I do think the other thing that scares me a bit is McCarthy talking about bringing Rodgers back specifically. So I'll pull that clip up, and I will make sure that we have audio on this. So give me a second.
Mike, Tim Benz over here from Trib Live. Question, just a football one for you. I'm not asking this from any other perspective except your own personal preference. In your best case scenario, do you want Aaron Rodgers back as your quarterback next year?
That's nice the way he asked that, right? That was slick. But I mean, definitely. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't. But I think just like anything, knowing Aaron long enough, going through seasons, I think when players, to see Mel Blunt here, I mean, when guys are up at that stage of their career, they need to step away and decompress. I think that's very important. The game is so emotional, what these men commit to and what they put into it. I think that time away is important, and I have spoken to Aaron, and so that's really where we are there. But I was able to sit back and watch the games. I watched most of the Pittsburgh games on TV, and I thought he was a great asset for the team.
So let's not forget the fear that we had. Some of us didn't. I certainly did, of Mike McCarthy being a sign of Art Rooney wanting to run it back. And that clip, again, could be, him just being kind and him being diplomatic about it all. But him saying, I absolutely, in so many words, want Aaron Rodgers back, and I've even talked to him about it, is a bit concerning. There was a very real, not even 72 hours ago, excitement about the Pittsburgh Steelers being able to go in a new direction, take risks, hire young coaches, and we'll cover the fact that Nate Scheelhaus and Chris Shula, apparently bombed their interviews. I have no idea how real that is or how reliable the reporting is on that, but they're certainly not getting like these great head coaching opportunities, right? Like they're not being offered jobs. And again, it's very soon after the Rams are out of the playoffs, and I'm sure there's a lot of moving pieces to it, but we can't deny that maybe the desire for those two is not as strong as we initially thought. But hearing McCarthy say, yes, I've talked to Aaron Rodgers and I want him back, and why wouldn't I want him back to lead the Steelers? It's very hard to not think that Art Rooney wants the same exact thing, and he just wants to run this thing back with another Mike. Because the other thing is that the reports were Mike Tomlin was the one that stepped down, and Art Rooney came out and said, if Mike wanted to come back, I would have done it. There was reports of that. So it's like, how far removed are we really from the same experience of what we've gotten for the last 10 years? I have no idea. Yet to be seen. But the signs are all pointing towards a similar experience as a Steelers fan. And it's so early to predict it and maybe even make statements like this and project out, but it is a little bit like, man, this is kind of what we thought might happen. But we'll move on. Food for thought, really. These are thought exercises at this point, just pulling down interesting reports for you, sharing them, and sharing my instant reaction. So everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Never forget that. Some good news. Some news I actually can like and get behind is the Steelers hired Adam Henry as a wide receiver coach. I like his resume. I think he's a good guy. I've watched some interviews of him. I don't have any pulled up right now because they were very long and I didn't want to chop them up and share them here. But I encourage you guys to go and watch some Adam Henry interviews where you can find them. He's a good wide receiver coach. He's a guy with experience. He worked with the Bills prior. Little bit older, I think he is. Let me see my notes here. I thought I took notes on that. Yeah, Adam Henry is 53. For a wide receiver coach, I don't really care. Like, wide receivers don't change much in the league. It's like, can you get open or not? Do you know how to find the open spot in a zone? Do you know how to be in lockstep with the timing of your routes and your quarterback's expectations? I like Adam Henry. I like the way he talks. I like the wide receivers he's worked with. I like the teams he's been on. To me, it's actually a pretty good hire, one that I really can't complain much about at all. Again, mentioned it earlier, the OC that they're looking at, and it does now, as recently as when I started this live stream, sound like they are going to go in this direction, but it's still yet to be announced and determined fully. It's Luda Wells, So we have to keep in mind with any OC that the Steelers bring on at this point, it doesn't, I don't want to say it doesn't matter because he's going to have a job and it's going to be important. But Luda Wells is not going to be the one game to game calling the plays for the Steelers. It's not as impactful as like the Steelers hired an Arthur Smith and Mike Tomlin is your head coach. He's defensive minded. Mike McCarthy's offensive minded. It's less of an impact. It's still important. But his current role is with the Dallas Cowboys tight ends. He was the Dallas Cowboys tight ends coach from 2020 to current day. He's worked with the Giants, spent 8 seasons with them, including time as the assistant offensive line coach, which I think is actually interesting based on just the way the Steelers and Omar Khan and Andy Weidel have been, growing this offense and the philosophy they've taken with starting from the trenches and working their way out. I actually appreciate the fact that the OC they're bringing in has experience with offensive linemen and has experience with tight ends. It's almost like they're focused on working from the trenches out to the skill position players. I don't have a problem with that at all. If it happens, I'd be totally fine with it. Again, keeping in mind the fact that Mike McCarthy will be the one calling the plays game to game. But I don't have an issue with that. It's and I will say, to credit to what we're hearing right now, when Mike Tomlin was the head coach, I would hear about him promoting a certain guy or bringing in a guy, and I would be like, okay, how is that supposed to move the needle for us? How are we supposed to get excited about that? Like, the moves and the coaches that Tomlin brought on felt a little, this is going to sound harsh, a little more meaningless. And I feel like these coaches feel a little more meaningful. And there's still moving parts and things could change and everything, but I'm certainly not mad at it, if that makes sense. McCarthy's offensive priorities, he says, in this, again, press conference, he emphasizes QB-friendly offense, and it starts with running the football. And I think Art Rooney heard that in the interviews. And by the way, we should get into the interview process again, because I talked a little bit about it during the press conference. But we are all lying to ourselves if we look at who was interviewed in person and don't think that Art Rooney had his mind made up. Like, he did 2 interviews in person to satisfy the Rooney rule, which is to interview 2 minority coaches. He did it, got it out of the way, Brian Flores and Anthony Weaver. And then Mike McCarthy, and immediately, even before the Rams lost their playoff game, and they could have had a reasonable expectation to interview those coaches, the rumors were breaking that Mike McCarthy was going to be the guy. So I think Art Rooney absolutely premeditated this a bit. And I think, if I'm being fair, I understand why he was potentially gunning for Mike McCarthy the second Mike Tomlin stepped down, but it certainly reeks of a owner that already had his mind made up the second that Tomlin stepped down. He knew what he wanted, who he was going to hire. And a guy like Shieldhouse and a guy like Shula and a guy like Kubiak, who's still in it in the Super Bowl right now, didn't even have a chance to sway him or impress him enough to change his mind. And I do think that's something worth criticizing. Maybe it won't matter at the end of the day. Maybe Shieldhouse will be a terrible OC or a terrible head coach, and Shula will never be a great head coach, and Kubiak will never be a great head coach. But certainly we're lying to ourselves if we don't accept the fact that Art Rooney had his mind made up going into this thing. Dillbob says that Adam Henry worked with CD, OBJ, and Jarvis, which is pretty cool. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, the resume is good. Like, I have no issue with Adam Henry being the wide receiver coach. Like, I think that's fine. That's good. Even exciting a little bit compared to what the Steelers have done in the past. Certainly no issue with it. Same with the offensive coordinator. Same with Patrick Graham, who I do want to get into a bit. So reports are coming out just now, about 30 minutes ago or so, that Patrick Graham is going to be the Steelers' defensive coordinator. Certainly an upgrade right away from Terrell Austin. And certainly an upgrade from Mike Tomlin. Hate to be that guy and crap on Mike Tomlin when he's gone and left and give us the opportunity to move on. But yeah, I would 10 times out of 10 take Patrick Graham over what we saw from the Steelers defense the last, handful of years, however many years. He's got a different approach to defense, similar. Mike McCarthy did say they're going to stay with the 3-4, which is fine. I mean, the Steelers defense is built for that. So there's no problem in my mind staying with the 3-4 and committing to it. But Patrick Graham's resume, it's good. There's some flops in there. Sure, there's some years where you're like, I'm not so sure about that one. But just to give you a little background, he was with the Raiders from 2022 to 2025. Stayed the DC under multiple head coaches, which is probably a good sign. It's probably a sign that different guys came in as the head coach and thought, okay, he's good enough. He's doing his job. I don't feel this need to replace him. He was the DC with the Giants from 2020 to 2021. Miami Dolphins in 2019. He worked, and this is the link to McCarthy probably, I would assume, Green Bay Packers, inside linebackers coach, and interestingly enough, run game coordinator with Mike McCarthy in 2018. So I wonder, what the relationship is there, but I'm sure it's a relationship that works well with one another, where Mike McCarthy feels comfortable with him. He knows what to expect, and that's most likely why he's bringing him in. But, I asked for change. A lot of us ask for change. And so I'm okay with that. And his resume is at least consistent. And I know who he is, which is the other important part. Because, again, Mike Tomlin, his coaching tree, he loved to just bring guys in that we never heard of before and and hold on to them because maybe he liked the way they talked, or he thought they were nice guys. And if you were a nice guy under Mike Tomlin, you were going to have your job for a long time, whether you were good or not. Tomlin was a believer in the Disney Channel story. He loved to support guys, stick with them, fight for them, even when they probably shouldn't have been fought for, based on performance at least. So the other thing I want to talk about is just the age of the coaching staff so far. So we have Mike McCarthy is 62. Patrick Graham is 47. Luda Wells, again, projecting, he might not be the OC, who knows, is 42. And Adam Henry is 53. So we're looking at an older coaching staff between the assistants and the OC and the DC and now the wide receivers coach. I think it goes against, again, what we were asking for and hoping for, but I think the biggest thing that I want to fall back on is we were looking for change, and we are certainly going to get change. And again, I lean back on the fact that at least these guys have a resume that is somewhat impressive and or at least meaningful, which is something that with the Steelers we haven't gotten in a long time. So those are my thoughts. That's why I wanted to go live today. I'll read the comments now. So let's see. Slam Tackle TV. I love my Steelers to death, but when it comes to this season, when it comes to me going to the draft, buying the merchandise, me going to the games, it's not happening this year. They haven't earned it. I hear you, brother. I do. I get it. But we're so early in this thing, you know, like what if they go in and have a great draft, right? What if they go in and draft every single guy that you want? Maybe you won't be there at the draft, but you're telling me that's not going to excite you a little bit if they start making decisions that you have hoped they would make, or at least taking some risks that you would have hoped they would take in the last few years. I think we need to not be prisoners of the moment and let it play out. The Dill Bob, I see what you mean, but God forbid you tell your frustrations to a Jets, Raiders, Browns fan. Yeah. Could always be worse, man. Browns just hired Todd Monken as their head coach. Hilarious. I swear to God, like the Browns are so cursed and they're so like, I don't even know what the word for it is. They just have to be worse than everyone else in the AFC North. It's like, no matter how bad it gets in the AFC North, they're always going to make the worst decision. Real Dogs. Adam, did you not cover this past season? I don't remember seeing any videos. Glad you're back. I did not post. Maybe I posted like a couple. But I was trying out different things on the channel that were not related to the Steelers. And so I certainly don't think most of you saw it. And then I deleted them and I did a reset. But for all intents and purposes, I have been gone for the last 3 years, really. The Dill Bob, you got to talk of them with Nas. I don't know what you're talking about, bro. David, I don't remember before now, McCarthy being viewed as a QB whisperer. Yes, he's an offensive guy. His past QBs were all elite and didn't need to be developed. I agree. That was my talk track during the press conference. People are hyping up his skill to develop quarterbacks, but dude, like, I mean, look at Ben Roethlisberger and Mike Tomlin. I don't think Mike Tomlin developed Ben Roethlisberger at all. If you give Mike Tomlin credit for developing him, you're lying to yourself, and it's disingenuous. So it's like, I'm hopeful that maybe McCarthy knew what to look for and identify good quarterbacks and support quarterbacks with his offensive system. But certainly I'm not going to sit here today and say he helped develop Brett Favre, helped develop Aaron Rodgers, and helped develop Dak Prescott. Like, those are good quarterbacks. Like, they're good, talented quarterbacks. I don't think he did anything to move the needle on what their careers would have been. Maybe he moved the offensive ranking up a few positions because he's a good play caller. Maybe, yet to be seen. We'll see what he does when he doesn't have a guy like Aaron Rodgers or doesn't have a franchise quarterback. But saying he developed them or he's a whisperer, bit of a leap. Darth Maul, Adam, are we cooked? I don't know. I can't tell you, man. Let's get into the draft first. Let's react to the draft together. We'll see what they do there because I'm sure McCarthy will have input, and we'll go from there. Jamar, who's the new RC? I don't know. What's an RC? OC or DC? DC reportedly is Patrick Graham. OC is probably going to be Luda Wells, sorry. But yet to be determined, I think, unless something broke while I was on this stream. Danny Bowling, who did McCarthy develop? Dak, what a joke. I mean, fair take, man, fair take. But, yeah, guys, this is it for today. Thanks for tuning in. Just wanted to cover some of the breaking news. I'll keep going live as much as the news is breaking to just share thoughts, and we'll talk about it, talk through it. We'll ask questions, explore what it might mean for the Steelers next year. Receiver coach. Gotcha, brother. Adam Henry. Adam Henry is the new receiver coach. Again, I don't have any of his videos pulled up right now, but I would encourage you to go look at some. I like the way he interviews. I like the way he carries himself. I like the people he's worked with. I certainly am not upset about it in any way, but I would encourage you to go explore it yourself a bit and take away what you feel about it. So yeah, guys, thanks for popping in. Great to talk to y'all as always. This is where we are with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You know, it's an interesting time. There's no denying that. We all wanted change, most of us at least. I don't think a lot of us were willing to go into another Tomlin-led year, but we're getting the change. Not the change maybe we all asked for, but it's certainly changed. So we'll see how it plays out. And I think the next step is getting confirmation on some of these coaches, seeing what they do in the offseason. Do they trade some people? There's certainly a lot of trade potential on this roster right now. And then going into the draft will be the next big step for us and what we can predict or expect from the McCarthy-led Steelers. So thank you guys, as always. Appreciate y'all. And I'll be back soon, as promised.